Hello everybody and welcome to another look at IL-2 Battle of Stalingrad. In this little feature I want to have a more detailed look at the damage model that we currently have in Battle of Stalingrad and show it off and maybe contrast it to some of the other games that are out there. Now before we go on, of course, I'd like to mention that this is a game that is in early access. Officially the game is 63% finished. So we're not talking about a finished product here, there's still work to be done, and nothing that you will see here can be considered final. Now maybe you remember that if you looked at my video on the 190, you saw an enemy P2 being completely obliterated. It caught on fire and then it kind of burst apart into sections, and that got me thinking when I rewatched that footage that maybe I should make a little test here of the damage model and see how many hits does it take to take an aircraft down, what kind of damage you see visually, and if that correlates to any kind of difficulties in controlling the aircraft. Damage models are of course of huge importance in combat flight simulations because, well, when it comes down to it, we are all shooting at each other and we kind of want to destroy each other, and that means that if you get hits you also want to see some kind of result. Now IL-2 Battle of Stalingrad, if I just quote them from the official website, they say that they offer a unique and detailed damage model, shows how deadly the weapons can be, and will challenge even the best pilots. So that's basically what they promise right there. So let's have a little bit of a look at a battle that I simulate. Now sadly in IL-2 Battle of Stalingrad it is currently quite hard to fly against a human pilot who just presents himself as a straight flying target, and then you can count the hits and see the kind of effect that your weapons do. So I had to use an AI with the complication that an AI of course tries to evade me and tries to fight back. However, after a single hit on him, he had a damaged fuel tank, and for some reason that made him fly relatively straight. Not really, but he did present himself as an easier target. So I'm going to try and show off what's going on from my point of view, and then we'll also jump into an external camera and see what kind of damage we can see on the lag 3. Now I am in my 190 here, armed with 2 MG151s and 2 7.92 machine guns, and let's just see what we can do here. Taking aim on the lag, we're trying to get single hits here, trying to fire in little bursts, not to get too many hits. Initially I don't want to destroy him immediately, but we can see we damaged him a little bit there. Got another hit into him. Seems to be somewhat damaged. Of course we saw the fuel leak on his left wing, and there seems to be coming some kind of smoke from his engine now. Let's try to go on him again. We'll have a more detailed look once we have the external camera, and then we can see what kind of damage is done to the enemy plane. Yep, he seems to be smoking from his engine there. Let's try to get another couple of hits into him. That seemed to have hit his engine as well. More thick smoke coming out there. I think that was my right wing cannon. And let's have another look from here. Yep, the smoke seems to thicken. Let's again reline up and pursue him here, trying to get a gun solution. It was quite challenging actually hitting this guy without, killing him. I was always afraid that I would somehow destroy him. That's not really the intent here. The intent is to test the damage model, not to destroy the enemy plane immediately in a single burst. Couple of shots there, nothing hits. See where he's going. Well, he's pulling up. And we pursue him here. Couple of hits there on the left wing, it seems. He has his flaps out. I think that was a good solid burst into him. Also, once again, we see another additional damage coming from the right wing there, but no, now it's gone. A little bit of smoke from the right wing there. Let's see if we can get another hit into him here. Oh, he's pulling up. Nothing there. Nothing there. Nothing there again. There, we hit his tail, I guess. Maybe his elevators received a little bit of damage there. And now we're switching just to machine guns. I want to see what this does. There we go, just machine guns. We don't see any kind of damage. Oh, there we go. Right wing fuel tank seems to have received some kind of damage. And let's have a closer look from the outside. Yeah, that plane is severely damaged. I think by now it's safe to say that this guy doesn't have any fight in him anymore. He's just trying to get home. Let's see how far we can take this. There we go. And as you heard there, we received a little bit of hit, and I guess this is either the explosion sound, and we hear it because it's so close, or it's because bits are flying off and hitting our plane. I'm not quite sure about that, but I presume it's actually only the explosion. Let's try this again. Only MGs this time again. And let's get a closer look. We see some holes there in the tail section as well, in the left wing. So definitely some visual damage right there. Let's go at it again. Now I believe that IL-2 Battle of Stalingrad also doesn't use these templates, for example, that are in War Thunder, where the damage always looks the same. You know, it just basically simulates a pink wing, a red wing, so to say, and a black wing. And it doesn't go through those stages, I believe, in IL-2 Battle of Stalingrad. It kind of looks where the hits were, and then it puts holes and damage there. Of course, this is a single test on a single aircraft, and statistically we'll have to test it on quite a few planes and see how damage corresponds there, and if those holes kind of move around the plane, or if they're really just a template that is given. And once again, we had a left wing there. One cannon shell seems to have done the trick there. And just MGs now, and we see the enemy plane on fire. Let's try to get a closer look here and pause it, just so we can have a look there. Yep, that fuel tank is on fire. I don't think this plane is going to survive for very long. And as we look back, also the wing has snapped off and he's going down. So yeah, that was an interesting look. We see the pilot bailing, good stuff. He's out, and we shot that lag-free down. Now, as we'll see in the external camera, this plane survived quite a few cannon hits. If I believe the official figures from the German estimates were that a plane would roughly take 5 to 8 MG 151 hits. We'll see if that is the case here. Of course, official figures and are based on an average, so sometimes it takes more hits and sometimes it takes less hits, of course. So let's have a look from the external camera right here. We see once again lag-free is starting off with a little bit of a fuel tank hit in his left wing. And let's see what kind of damage we can get him. Right, we hit his tail section there, it seems. At least that's how it looked like, but I think it was more of an engine hit. Once again we get a hit, and we see a couple of little holes, just little holes in the elevators. And a little bit of a hit right behind that star on the tail section. Swinging around, we see one hole in the engine section. That would, I guess, correspond or be the reason why the engine is smoking. Although I'm not quite sure if that is actually the engine or maybe an internal fuel tank. And a couple of hits there in the left wing. As we can see, there's little holes in the left wing from below, but nothing visually from the top. And nothing on the other side, but we didn't get any hits there either, so there shouldn't be anything. By this point we are firing with both MGs and with the cannon, so just keep that in mind. And the smoke thickens as well there, that must have been the engine head. Alright, the enemy lag is pulling away. Those were the shots that missed. Now he's pulling up, and we'll put a couple of shots into him soon again. Yeah, his engine is smoking from both sides. And let's see if we can get some hits in here. I think those were the heavy hits on the left wing. We don't see anything from the top, although there's little holes there in the top. Let's look at that from below, and we see two massive holes in the wing. I would presume those are both of the MG151s hitting once from each gun. Or maybe it's just the explosion effect that it created two holes. Again, we're firing, missing there, missing again. There we get another hit, and we see more damage on the wing. Damage from below the wing. And also in the tail section we can see some holes near that star, and of course those big hits, or the big damage we can see just the wing root. I think we just changed to only MGs there. Not a lot of hits scored. We can see some hits on the right side. That was correspond with the fuel tank leak. Though I don't see any hits where the smoke comes from, or the fuel comes from, really. They're a little bit closer to the center fuselage. Another heavy hit on the tail section there. And there we can see more holes in the tail. And we didn't hear an explosion on that last hit there when those holes appeared, so might have punched clean through, I guess. And we can see another hole in the center there, near the cockpit. Two holes, in fact. And not quite sure if the enemy pilot has troubles flying here. There we see the MG striking the tail, or if he's just flying in a curve from himself. Let's look at that tail, and there seem to be additional holes in the tail. That red star has taken some damage as well. Multiple of holes in the midsection of that plane. And he's smoking badly. Oh, we can also see additional damage on the wing root. More or less the wing root on the right wing. And of course the heavy damage that we already scored earlier. Here we come again. And we can also hear the engine behaving, well, sounding a little bit off there. So I guess the engine damage is taking its toll on the enemy plane. Doesn't sound as smooth anymore as it did before. Or maybe that's just the pilot decreasing and increasing the throttle all the time. Another heavy hit there. I think those holes... Did an additional hole appear under the wing? I think so. And there we go. There's that fire. Let's pause it again. Right here we can see the fire spreading across the wing. And let's see what happens. That's us flying by very soon there. There we go. And then the wing snaps off. And then we see the wing that is still attached to the plane striking the wing that has just left the plane. Don't see any additional damage there, so I guess that isn't modeled in the game. But what is interesting now, as it goes down, just before it strikes the ground, we can see some of the gear flying off. So yeah, that has been a look at that. Interesting. Now, you can count as well there. I watched this footage a couple of times, and I counted between 6 to 9 cannon hits. It really depends on how you count them and what you count as a cannon hit there. It's more or less within the average that I remember from the official figures. However, as I said, a single test isn't statistically relevant in that case, but I do like how it is modeled until now. It seems to be fairly accurate. I'm a little bit surprised the early hits that I got into his tail section didn't produce any more of an effect. You'd think that there would be more damage caused by that. As well as that, on the right wing we saw no damage from where the fuel was leaking, but we saw more damage towards the center of the plane. So the damage didn't really correspond with the leak there, although of course it could be that I missed something. As for the rest, of course, the damage models aren't done yet. I'm not quite sure how far they have developed the lag-free damage model until now. It seems to be able to soak up quite a few cannon shells, which is good. Of course, it always depends where you strike the plane. If you strike the plane where it is structurally well built compared to other parts of the aircraft and where it isn't so much or susceptible to control surface damage and so on, then I guess of course a plane can soak up quite a few hits. However, if you do then hit it somewhere where it should receive additional damage, then where the pilot will have then troubles controlling his ailerons because the cables are cut and so on. That of course should affect the plane quite severely. Interesting to see, what I think was that we saw one hole in the engine block, and that immediately caused some kind of smoke coming out. So that round must have struck the engine quite nicely there. And of course, getting in such an engine hit is very nice for a pilot, because it drastically decreases the performance of the enemy aircraft over time. I think also looking back at it, we did see some kind of difference between AP hits, AP 20mm rounds, and HE. We kind of saw the same kind of effect visually from the hit. We saw a little bit of a burst of explosion and so on, but the damage that the one was actually caused to the enemy aircraft seemed different. I would even presume that the engine hit was with an AP round, that the initial hits on the tail section was with an AP round, and that also those hits we later saw on the tail section where the hole was made would also be an AP round, simply striking clean through the enemy aircraft. Of course, I don't have any way of testing that or of checking that, but so far I'm quite pleased, and I'll have a look in the future at the damage models as well, see what kind of damage caused by certain weapons. And of course that is also important in knowing your aircraft and what your aircraft can do in a single burst on an enemy aircraft. So as always guys, if you have any kind of comments, put them down below. It would be interesting to see what you guys think of this damage model compared to some other games you've played, if you're impressed, if you're not impressed, if you're playing IL-2 Battle of Stalingrad at the moment, if you have any kind of concerns of the plane or the damage models, or how the development is going. So thanks very much for joining me yet again, and as always I wish you guys a great day, good hunting, and see you in the sky.